All right, fellas. Y'all bring it in. Bring it in. All right. Come on. All right. So look, tonight's game is a must win. All right. We got to win this game. This is the Timberwolves we playing. This ain't just some other team. All right. So I don't want to see no slacking on defense. Y'all better be going hard. Y'all better be going real hard. I don't want to hear no arguing. All right. And if you're not a superstar or if you over 6'10", don't come talk to me. All right. I don't want to hear it. So we clear? We good? Okay, good. So the starting lineup today is going to be Steph, Kelly, two-way Wigs. Two-way, you hear? Okay. Dre, and defense. Looney. Okay? Looney, that's it.
Hey, coach. What about me, coach?
Get out my face, James.
Hey, coach.
What I say, Rook. Damn. Steph? What the hell is you doing, son? You making a sandwich?
Ain't that mouthpiece fill you up yet? Damn.
The Warriors bounced back from a series of losses over the weekend to a blowout win of the currently incapacitated Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves, in addition to being a terrible defensive team this year, were without their typical offensive firepower in D'Angelo Russell and Karl Anthony Towns. With both these players unavailable due to COVID protocols, this should be one of, if not the easiest game on the Warriors' schedule. The Timberwolves currently have the worst record in the West with a 4-12 and one loss away from being tied with the Detroit Pistons, who have the worst record overall. With Malik Beasley leading scoring for the Timberwolves, they made a fourth quarter surge, forcing Kerr to return to the starting lineup to close. Curry had himself a night on the offensive end, not having to face the typical box and one, launching from deep to categorically dismiss the Timberwolves. And before anyone says this was clickbait, the title story is further on in the video, so let's get to it. Hey, what's happening everyone? This is Swish, and if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button below and stay on top of my latest updates. I have great content coming your way today and even better content to come later. The Warriors had a couple of terrible Butler, a first-year ref, thought comments made by Draymond were directed at him. They were not. They were in fact directed at Draymond's teammate, James Wiseman, who had to be live coached on the floor in order to be a Jazz game was a pylon as they came out firing from deep and the Warriors just couldn't match their offensive firepower. They were blown out by the third quarter and it was very clear that this team was just not in the game to win tonight. The Warriors clearly have the ability to beat any other team, but something was amiss. It was clear that Steve Kerr, without a championship roster, can be outcoached on any given night. So it goes without saying that last night's game against the Timberwolves was important not just for the Warriors to get a win, but to do so in dominating fashion and separate themselves from a team that is likely to be at the top of the lottery again this year. The glaring issues with our defense would be scrutinized, but this would be tough, again due to the fact that the Timberwolves were without their star players. This would be the perfect opportunity for Wiseman to have some minutes within the starting lineup to build chemistry while facing less pressure from a less talented center on the opposing team. Unfortunately, some changes in the lineup completely undermined this notion, and an opportunity for Wiseman's development was squandered. Why would you do this, Kerr? Why? Putting Looney in the starting lineup against the lowly Timberwolves proves nothing of importance. This doesn't prove that we are better with Looney against starting centers. However, it does prove that the Warriors are a better team than the Timberwolves. A fact that 99.999999999% of the world, including microbes, already knew. Wiseman versus Gobert is not the same as Looney versus Nas Reed. It just isn't. I mean, I had to use Nas Reed's first name for crying out loud, just so you can identify the player. Although Kelly Oubre had a good night on the floor, Steve Kerr seems to be keeping Kelly on with the first unit for appeasement because much of Kelly's work is done with the second unit. The starting five of Curry, Lee, Wiggins, Draymond, Wiseman, subbing Lee halfway through the quarter for Oubre, and starting the second quarter with Lee, Mulder, Oubre, Pascal, Looney would provide a much better offensive punch to get our guys going, while still providing a good balance of defense on both units. Let Wiseman get 8 or so minutes to begin the first quarter, and then close with the last 7 of the second quarter. Against a team like Minnesota, it is criminal to not maximize Wiseman's minutes. The Warriors came out firing against the Timberwolves' porous defense and blitzing the Minnesota team, gaining a 15-point lead early in the first quarter. The Warriors were able to maintain a lead for the entirety of the game, with the Wolves at times closing the gap, which the Warriors would then pace. The one highlight of the night for the Timberwolves was that their number 1 pick, Anthony Edwards, had a vicious one-handed slam on a drive to the rim that caught Wiseman off guard and was nearly a legit poster. Nearly. On the night, however, the refs seem to have this developing beef with Draymond. It almost seems as if whether or not Draymond does something deserving of a technical foul, the refs will give one to him anyway. As Draymond went up to swat a potential rebound, he missed the ball and his arm came down on one poor Jared Vanderbilt's face. Vanderbilt was laid out on the floor with a gouge in his face, and I still am not sure, aside from a potential elbow to the frontal bone of the upper orbit, why he was bleeding as bad as he was. The injury was obviously inadvertent. However, Scott Foster, a referee with national recognition, the likes of which John Butler aspires, decided that here and now Draymond would get a technical foul. There was no rhyme or reason, however, except Foster was clearly offended by the fact that the Referees Association embarrassed themselves by giving and rescinding a tech to Draymond Green in the Knicks game. He decided to reinstate a completely falsifiable technical. This is just wrong. So, despite giving this technical, Draymond stayed in the game, stayed level-headed more so than I've seen him before, and the Warriors came away with a blowout win over the Timberwolves. This is all I asked for in my previous video, and it was delivered. I was hoping we could do it with Wiseman in the starting lineup, but I'm hoping Kerr can learn. There are a lot of things of which we aren't aware that goes on behind the scenes with regards to starting or benching the players, and while this was puzzling to many, including myself, there is no reason to only play James Wiseman 16 minutes against a Timberwolves team that didn't have their starting center. Wiseman is our center of the future, and to play him 16 minutes last night was an absolute travesty. Getting a win against the Timberwolves didn't require that we sit Wiseman for the majority of the game. This is useless both for Wiseman and for the team in the current, near, and distant future. In contrast, Anthony Edwards played 27 minutes during that game, scoring 15 points and having 3 rebounds. Wiseman, in his 16 minutes, had 13 points and 4 rebounds. Wiseman is clearly the better prospect by far, however he was robbed of an opportunity in last night's game. I could forgive Kerr for not starting Wiseman, but I cannot forgive him for restricting his minutes and subduing the kid that is likely to be our best player and franchise cornerstone in the coming years. Our next matchup with the Timberwolves is tomorrow night, and expect a tougher matchup as Ryan Saunders makes adjustments and likely will have additional players available for the matchup. We didn't need to sacrifice development in order to field a proper matchup to win the Timberwolves game last night, and I still don't think we need a sacrifice to do so tonight either. I don't have any hope that we will make the appropriate actions or corrections on Steve Kerr's part, so expect Looney and Kelly Oubre to be in the starting lineup tonight as well. Now, this lineup might be better if Cat and D'Lo are on the starting lineup for the Wolves, but it hurts us in more ways than one if it's just the second and third string centers. Last night would have been the perfect opportunity to use the lineup that I mentioned earlier, and against a team like the Timberwolves would be a good matchup to start tonight as well. But I concede. I'm not the coach of this team, and Kerr will do as he pleases. Let's get this win and then move on to the Phoenix Suns for a test of Kerr's ability to match up with a team that may or may not make the playoffs. Thank you guys for watching the video. I sincerely appreciate you stopping by to check out the channel. Thanks again to you guys who stopped by the live stream last night. It is and has always been a pleasure. Let's keep our community growing, Warrior fans. Till next time, swish.
A block so hard, sweetie get served. Call me Lonzo Ball, bitches get swerved. Usually I don't get down with these girls, but tonight it's on my mind, so I might eat these words. I just wanna